Hello, church. I'd like to say it's good to see you, but I really can't see you. I can see you in my mind's eye. I can see on a Wednesday night where you might be sitting in the fellowship hall. I can see you on a Sunday morning, pretty much where you would be sitting. When we come back together, I may not see the same thing. Things may look a little different. Walter did a very good job Sunday of telling us about these new expectations and the way things might be a little different, about the masks that we might be wearing and about the masks that we might already be wearing. Hopefully during this time, we'll get accustomed to these new temporary masks, and we'll learn to shed the masks that we may have been wearing all along. And that's really one of the things that we need to be doing as maturing Christians in the first place, is learning to put on Christ and take off the masks that we build for ourselves. Thanks, Walter. Thanks for bringing that out. Very, very well done. So I've been thinking about all of this. I've been looking at the book of Exodus quite a lot, because we are in a wilderness type of situation where we don't really know not only where we're going, but we don't really know where we are. We have doubts about those who are leading us, and that goes for the secular leaders that we have, and it may also, as we approach a new normal, we may have some doubts about the leadership in the church as well. I hope we pray through those things and we work through those things. And I'm reminded a lot of what is written in the book of Exodus. There's a verse, a couple of sections of verses that have piqued my interest in the last few weeks. As they're at the base of the mountain, waiting on Moses, learning about God. Moses is learning, he's being told, he's being instructed. He's visiting God face to face. God tells Moses that he's going to take them to the promised land. And in chapter 23, verses 20 and 21, God tells Moses this: "Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions. My name is in him." So this is God essentially telling Moses that I'm not going with you. I'm going to send a representative. This representative has my full authority. I've given him my seal. I've given him instructions, and he is going to obey those instructions. And one of those instructions is going to be this: if you provoke him, he will not forgive you. He will not forgive your transgressions. All of this relationship with God is quite new for Moses, even newer for the people. I think Moses has learned a few things about God over the time he spent with his father-in-law, learning since he met the burning bush, since he was told to go to Egypt and bring the people out. He's learned some things about God. So by the time we get to chapter 33, where the people are actually now ready to leave. Moses asks God a favor. He asks him, actually pleads, actually tells God this in chapter 33, in verse 5, starting in verse 15. He says, if your presence does not go with us, if your very presence doesn't go with us, do not bring us up from here. For how then will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except that you go with us? So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people who are on the face of the earth. And then the Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. So what is the difference here between what we read in chapter 23 and what we read in chapter 33? Chapter 23, God is going to send an angel that will not forgive the people. There will be no grace and mercy. By the time they're actually ready to leave, Moses tells God. That's one of the curious things to me in the Old Testament is folks like Moses and Abraham who bargain with God and such. But Moses tells God, don't even take us out. Don't take us away from here unless you go with us yourself. If I have found grace, if I have found grace, forgiveness, pardon, then do this for us. Go with us. Why so? Because God himself is full of grace. When you're told that there'll be no grace and you've realized that there really is grace to be had, how do you go about reconciling that? Moses has come to know God, and he knows God enough to say, go with us. Go with us yourself. And when you do, there will be grace there. We will find grace with you. What we learn going forward through the Old Testament, through the journeys, through the wilderness, through the fact that God brings them to the promised land and they still have doubts and he turns them out for 40 years. We still find grace. We still find grace through God. Something I hadn't quite seen in these scriptures before is at first God said, I'm sending someone who's not unforgiving. And then he says, I will come and I have grace. So as we go through this wilderness we're in, I think one of our prayers should be for God to go with us, to give us grace, to help us through the wilderness, to show us himself how to get through. As Christians, not quite the same as those early Israelites. We have Christ. We have learned about grace. And we trust that God will see us through. In the Gospels, in Matthew chapter 23, we were told by Christ himself that there will be a number of things that happened between the time he left at the resurrection and the time he returns at the second coming, that there would be wars, there would be pestilence, there would be famine, and there would be rumors of things. And in John, we're told along the same lines that Jesus has revealed things to his apostles, to his disciples, so they would trust him, so they know what was coming. And he says, these things I've spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Christ has overcome. He's given us his Spirit. He's given us his peace. He's told us what to expect. And he's told us to trust him. And so that's my prayer, that we will do that we will trust him. We'll see him in the end. So until next time, until I see you again, God bless you. Stay faithful, be safe and healthy. And I'll have you in my prayers.